Hey, everybody. Let's talk today about hearing loss and tinnitus C&P exams. Stand by. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about hearing loss and tinnitus C&P exams. These are under a bunch of changes right now. There's a little bit of, change in how the VA is going to process these moving forward. I know there's a little bit of anxiety about it. I kind of want to give you my 2 cents about that, but also talk about, the simplicity of what you're going to face if you claim hearing loss and tinnitus. So let's jump right into it. Please like, share, subscribe. That helps me get the word out to other veterans. I'm going to open up my notes down here. All right. So hearing loss and tinnitus. I've got beautiful ear candy that I wear, as it's referred to. This is because of a VA disability. I also have tinnitus that is awful to live with. I think that most veterans who have been around anything loud have tinnitus now. At least that's been my experience. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that C&P exam is like. And we're going to talk about how it changes a little bit now with these new guidelines that the VA is getting ready to drop in and start using. So, okay. When you file for hearing loss, you have to understand they're going to give you two tests. One's the Maryland CNC, and one is the Pure Tone audio test. They're the beeps and blips, and then they're the word comprehension. Okay. Those are the types of tests you're going to get. I'm just going to tell you, they're really hard to fake. So don't try, please. Don't make it harder for the rest of us that actually have really bad hearing loss. If you're trying to justify going in and faking one of these, just don't do it, please. But here's what you're going to experience. You're going to put you in a closed, little isolated room. If you have claustrophobia, you need to let them know prior to you accepting the C&P exam. Let them know you have claustrophobia, right? I don't know what they're going to do in that case. I don't have claustrophobia, but I can imagine when they put me in that box, that the soundproof box where they could really measure everything and get you a clear tone into your ears, which I think is a bull crap way of doing this measurement anyway. But when they do that, if you have claustrophobia, you could potentially not do well in there, right? Because it's a closed box and you're in there for a good 15, 20 minutes probably. At least that's what I remember is about 15, 20 minutes. So anyways, the way that the VA is going to be looking at tinnitus and hearing loss is it's now going to be considered an ear condition. And ear conditions have traditionally had a separate DBQ than hearing loss and tinnitus. So hearing loss and tinnitus is functional, and ear conditions are sometimes functional or otherwise, right? An ear condition can have Meniere's disease, vertigo, mastoiditis, and other things. I'm looking through the DBQ right now. Malignant neoplasm of the ear, other than the skin. There's all kinds of conditions that can be, related to the ear, and that's where they're starting to base everything from when it comes to hearing and tinnitus and everything. It's an ear condition, but tinnitus is a symptom of an ear condition. The hearing loss is a symptom of something. I think they're trying to bear down on the fact that they know hearing loss and tinnitus is so common in veterans because of the things that we're subject to, that I believe they're overcomplicating it. I'm just my honest opinion. I think the VA is trying to keep so many people from getting hearing loss and tinnitus. I don't think that they're being absolutely fair about it. I think this is a cost-cutting measure, and I think it's bullcrap. But it is what it is, right? So vestibular conditions are what are some of these conditions that come out of your ear condition, right? vestibular. Hearing impairment with vertigo, hearing impairment with attacks of vertigo, tinnitus unilateral or bilateral, 1 or 2 ears, vertigo by itself, staggering, hearing impairment, and or tinnitus. And then in the DBQ, it says, if checked, a hearing loss and tinnitus questionnaire must also be completed. This is where we get into the guts of the actual hearing loss and tinnitus exam. Tinnitus exam is very, very interesting. You go in, or at least when I did it, I went in, they said, hey, you're here for an exam. Do you have any conditions we should know about? Yes, I have tinnitus. How often is the ringing? Well, it's near constant. And then the doctor that saw me that day said, well, can you tell me in how many hours a day while you're awake do you notice it? And my answer was plain and simple, pretty much every hour of every day while I'm awake do I notice it. And sometimes it wakes me up in the middle of the night. And that was the answer that I gave. That's the truth. That's when it happens. She asked me if there were times when it didn't bother me. And I said, there's times when I don't notice it, but I don't know whether it's there or not. And she said, well, what about right now? And I could hear the ringing in my ears. I just didn't realize I could hear it because you get to tune it out after so many years, right? You just don't care anymore. I mean, it'll flare up and get to the point where it knocked me down almost. But for the most part, the tinnitus is there 24 hours a day. And I don't really notice it. What I do notice is that I get headaches. What I do notice is that when the ringing gets really, really loud, which happens quite often, it almost shuts me down, right? That's a big deal when it comes to tinnitus. Those are the questions you're going to be faced with, okay? How does it affect your life? How does it affect your day? I have multiple answers for that. I will let you figure out your own, how it affects your day. Quite honestly, I don't want to influence you one way or the other, but mine, the tinnitus affects my day some, the hearing loss affects my day a lot. So anyways, then they're going to say, okay, it's time for your hearing exam. And they're going to put you in this little box and they're going to put headphones on you. And they're going to ask you if you're comfortable, if you can hear okay. Yes, we're good. Yes. They're going to say, okay, here's how it's going to go. You're going to hear a tone in one ear or the other. You don't have to tell me which ear it's in. You just have to tell me when you hear the tone. Okay? And they're going to start with different frequencies. They're going to work from the super high frequencies to the super low frequencies and then back. And then they're going to do ears and back and forth. Some of them are going to be louder. Some of them are going to be softer. It's a process, right? And then they're going to do an audio test. Actually, a comprehension, verbal comprehension test, where you're going to hear some computerized weird voice. I don't know how to explain it unless you've been through it. That says words into your ear and you need to repeat back the word. This is where things get difficult, in my opinion. This is where things become a little bit subjective, if I may. Here's the thing. I can interpret what words are coming through, whether I can hear them clearly or not. If I can't hear them clearly, should I interpret them or should I not interpret them? That's a decision for each and every person, right? If you hear a word that's mumbled or jumbled or sounds like somebody's talking into a can, you can probably understand it and think through it real fast, get that thought process going, bam, 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 bam. Yes, I understand that word, and then repeat it back. But the question is, quite honestly, if you can't hear it clearly, how is that normal, right? So use your best judgment on this. I'm not going to say how I went about it. I'm going to tell you that by the time we were done, I had to get hearing aids. That's how bad my hearing is. So, do what you want with that. Anyways, after that, it's going to take them, 3 months to get back with you and let you know how your claim is progressing. I say that tongue in cheek. It's probably going to take 6 months because the VA is so slow right now. So once it's done, it's great. It's over with. You figure it out. If you don't like the results, here's what I'm going to tell you. Go get with a VSO if you don't like your results. Ask them, how far off was I? Because I feel like my hearing was bad. A good VSO is going to say, yeah, it looks like you were only 1 point away on your audio comprehension, which means that it's kind of, you might be using subjection instead of actual hearing, and maybe you need to get a retest and you need to, go back and ask for a re-exam on the CMP. If you're way far off and you just think that you have hearing loss and you really don't, and they say, listen, your hearing is well within range, because they have access to see that right away, then maybe you don't have hearing loss quite as bad as you thought you did, but there might be other neurological conditions, so pay attention to those. All right. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Appreciate each and every one of you for sticking around to the end, and take care of each other. See ya.